Hello students, in today's lecture I will be discussing about a very interesting topic of cell biology, that is mitochondrial respiratory chain. But before proceeding, I would like to mention that this presentation is prepared as a part of the noble initiative taken up by Zoological Society of Assam in order to heighten the knowledge of students from the field of zoology during this critical period of COVID-19 outbreak. From this lecture, you will be able to learn about the structure of mitochondria and its role in cellular respiration process, the oxidation of carbohydrates, mitochondrial respiratory chain and its components, about oxidative phosphorylation, and finally chemiosmotic theory as well as the mechanism of rotational catalysis. So let us start our discussion with a brief introduction about ATP. ATP or adenosine triphosphate is the most important molecule for capturing and transferring free energy in biological systems. It is referred to as universal currency of chemical energy in living organisms. It captures chemical energy that is obtained from the breakdown of food molecules and releases it to fuel up the other cellular processes. The energy to drive ATP synthesis from ADP is produced mostly by two processes. The first process is aerobic oxidation, which occurs inside mitochondria of most of the eukaryotic cells, and second process is photosynthesis, which occurs in the chloroplast of plants and in some unicellular organisms also, such as cyanobacteria. In between these two processes, we will focus only on aerobic respiration or aerobic oxidation part, where mitochondria is the central stakeholder. Before proceed to aerobic respiration process, let's have a look into the structural and functional specifications of mitochondria. As we know that mitochondria are known as powerhouses of cells because it continuously generates ATP or energy and provides us with energy at the time of our need. The prime function of mitochondria is to generate ATP, which is carried out by utilizing the energy contained in two reduced electron carriers, that are NADH or nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide and FADH2 or flavin adenine dinucleotide. The ATP generation process is achieved through a specialized mechanism known as oxidative phosphorylation, which manifests itself through the mitochondrial respiratory chain or electron transport chain. The internal structure of mitochondria reflects that it is bounded by two membranes, a smooth outer membrane that is permeable to most metabolites and a highly infolded, selectively permeable inner membrane that covers up the internal matrix of mitochondria. In between this outer and inner membrane, there is an intermembrane space. The infoldings of inner membrane are known as cristae that are projected into mitochondrial matrix. The inner mitochondrial membrane is the main industrial site of mitochondria, where a number of transport systems and enzyme complexes are located that actively take part in the process of ATP synthesis. Let us discuss about the process of aerobic oxidation and its relationship with mitochondrial respiratory chain. In this process, fatty acids, glucose and some amino acids are metabolized into carbon dioxide and water, and released energy is converted to the chemical energy in ATP. This aerobic catabolism is also known as cellular respiration, which occurs in three major steps. So as we can see in this figure, the food molecules in amino acids, fatty acids and glucose are converted to a smaller molecule, acetyl coenzyme A, which then oxidized in the second step, that is citric acid cycle. In the citric acid cycle, NADH and FADH2 are produced, which carries electrons to the very next step of cellular respiration, that is electron transport chain. In electron transport chain, electron passes through the compounds of mitochondrial respiratory chain for generation of ATP. The oxidation of carbohydrates or aerobic respiration occurs in four major stages and in three different places within a cell. First one is glycolysis, which occurs in cytoplasm. The second phase is pyruvate oxidation, which occurs inside the mitochondrial matrix. The third phase is citric acid cycle, that also occurs in the mitochondrial matrix. And the final stage, that is electron transport or mitochondrial respiratory chain, and the process of chemiosmosis or oxidative phosphorylation occurs in the inner mitochondrial membrane. The first step of glucose oxidation is glycolysis, which takes place in the cytosol and doesn't require molecular oxygen. A set of 10 water-soluble enzymes catalyze the reactions of glycolytic pathway. In this pathway, one molecule of glucose, which is a 6-carbon compound, is converted to 2 molecules of pyruvate, which is a 3-carbon compound. It also generates 4 ATP molecules by phosphorylation of 4 ADPs. In aerobic cells, pyruvate formed in glycolysis is transported into mitochondria and got oxidized to carbon dioxide. The overall reaction shows the production of a 3-carbon compound pyruvate from a 6-carbon glucose with the release of NADH and ATP. The reactions of glycolytic pathway are shown in the figure, where from one glucose molecule, 2 molecules of pyruvates are formed. The first 3 reactions may be considered as preparatory or investment phase, where ATP molecules are consumed. The rest of the reactions may be considered as payoff phase where NADH and ATP are produced. The fourth reaction is a specific one where fructose 1,6-bisphosphate is converted into two different products, that is dihydroxyacetone phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate with the help of enzyme aldolase. This dihydroxyacetone phosphate is rapidly converted into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate by the aid of isomerase enzyme. So, we have two molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, both of which proceeds into two same sets of reaction from here onwards. The final product is two molecules of pyruvate. So 4 ATP molecules are produced in these reactions from where 2 ATPs got used up. Therefore, the net yield of glycolysis is 2 ATP molecules, 2 pyruvate and 2 NADH molecules per glucose molecule get oxidized. It is not a highly efficient energy harnessing mechanism, and the energy trapped in 2 pyruvates and the 2 NADH molecules is harnessed through oxidative phosphorylation in mitochondria. The second step of glucose oxidation is pyruvate oxidation, which is also known as oxidative decarboxylation. The two pyruvates that are produced in glycolysis are transported to the mitochondrial matrix and converted to acetyl coenzyme A. Here, enzyme pyruvate dehydrogenase complex is involved, which is a complex of three different enzymes. The first enzyme is known as pyruvate dehydrogenase. The second enzyme is dihydrolipoyl transacetylase, and the third enzyme is dihydrolipoyl dehydrogenase. All three enzymes together constitute the pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. The overall equation for pyruvate oxidation is cited here. Here we can see that from 2 pyruvate molecule, 2 acetyl coenzyme A is produced with the release of 2 NADH molecule, 2 proton and 2 carbon dioxide. These two molecules of acetyl coenzyme A enter into the third step of glucose oxidation, that is known as citric acid cycle. The two NADH molecules proceed to electron transport chain, and the produced carbon dioxide diffuses out of the mitochondrion. Let us discuss the third step of oxidation of glucose, that is citric acid cycle, which was first put forwarded by Hans Krebs, and that is why the name of the citric acid cycle is Krebs cycle. It is also known as tricarboxylic acid cycle. In this cycle, 8 sequential reactions operate in a cycle to oxidize acetyl coenzyme A to carbon dioxide. The acetyl coenzyme A enters the TCA cycle, and citrate synthase catalyzes its condensation with oxaloacetate to form the citrate. In the next 7 sequential reactions, TCA cycle converts citrate to oxaloacetate and finally release 2 carbon dioxides. Here, let us see the reactions of citric acid cycle. When acetyl coenzyme A enters into the cycle, it will combine with this oxaloacetate and form citrate, and this formation of citrate marks the beginning of citric acid cycle. In the reaction 3 and reaction 4, two carbon dioxide molecules got released from this cycle, and it will produce two molecules of NADH. One additional NADH is produced in reaction 8, and total 3 NADH molecules are released. In reaction 6, one molecule of FADH2 is released, and in the reaction 5, one molecule of ZTP is released. As we know that ATP and GTP molecules are interconvertible, so this step is considered as ATP generating step. For each acetyl coenzyme A oxidized by the cycle, net gain is 2 carbon dioxide, 3 NADH, 1 FADH2 and 1 nucleoside triphosphate, that is ATP or GTP. Since one glucose molecule yields 2 molecules of acetyl coenzyme A, these 2 acetyl coenzyme A needs 2 turns of citric acid cycle to get metabolized. Therefore, the total yield of this cycle is 4 carbon dioxide, 6 NADH, 2 FADH2 and 2 ATP or GTP for 1 molecule of glucose get oxidized. The next step of glucose oxidation is electron transport and oxidative phosphorylation. So during respiration, NADH and FADH2 transfer the electrons to a series of compounds that are associated with inner mitochondrial membrane known as electron transport chain or respiratory chain. So this electron transport chain is mediated through some electron carriers that are organized as supramolecular complexes embedded into the inner mitochondrial membrane. The electron carriers plays an important role in mitochondrial respiratory chain. In electron transport chain, there are 5 types of membrane-bound electron carriers that are capable of accepting and donating either 1 or 2 electrons. The first electron carrier are flavoproteins, which are polypeptides that are bind to two related prosthetic groups, either FMN, that is flavin mononucleotide, or FAD or flavin adenine dinucleotide. Next come to the cytochromes. Cytochromes are iron containing prosthetic groups which moves freely by diffusing in the intermembrane space, and they play an important role in carrying electrons. The next type of electron carrier is iron sulfur cluster or iron sulfur centers. They are non-hemi prosthetic group consisting of iron atoms. The coenzymes are also a very important electron carrier, which is known as ubiquinone. It is the only electron carrier which is not a protein-bound prosthetic group, and the final electron carriers are 3 copper atoms. The mitochondrial respiratory chain is consist of 5 different complexes which are multi-subunit proteins having enzymatic activity. They are located in inner mitochondrial membrane and plays most dynamic role in the process of electron transport. The first complex is NADH ubiquinone reductase. The second complex is succinate coenzyme Q reductase or succinate ubiquinone reductase. Complex 3, ubiquinol cytochrome C reductase. Complex 4 is cytochrome C oxidase. And finally, the complex 5, ATP synthase. Let's begin with complex 1, that is NADH ubiquinone reductase. This complex is also known as NADH ubiquinone oxidoreductase or NADH dehydrogenase. This large enzyme composed of 42 different polypeptide chains and FMN containing flavoprotein and at least 6 different iron sulfur centers. The enzyme has an L-shaped structure with horizontal arm lying in the membrane and vertical arm projects into the mitochondrial matrix. As shown in the figure 6, the complex 1 catalyzes the transfer of a hydrogen ion that is released from NADH to FMN, from which these 2 electrons pass through a series of iron sulfur centers to the iron sulfur protein N2 in the matrix arm of the complex. Finally, the electrons transfer from N2 to ubiquinone. In this reaction, the free energy generated is minus 16.6 kilocalorie per mole for 2 electrons transported, and this released energy is sufficient for proton translocation. 4 numbers of protons are translocated across the inner mitochondrial membrane per molecule of NADH oxidized. So next complex is succinate coenzyme Q reductase complex. It is also known as succinate dehydrogenase. It is a smaller and simpler complex than the complex 1. Consists of 5 prosthetic groups of 2 different types and 4 different protein subunits, namely A, B, C and D. The subunit A and B contains 2 iron 2 sulfur centers, a bound FAD, binding site for succinate, and the subunit C and D contains a hemi group that is known as hemi B and a binding site for ubiquinone. So this is the structure of complex 2, where subunit C and D and subunit A and B can be visible. The complex 2 is an alternate entry point to electron transport system. That means electrons from other metabolic pathway like beta oxidation of fatty acids etc. can enter through this complex into the mitochondrial respiratory chain. This complex 2 catalyzes the reduction of ubiquinone by electrons removed from succinate. Here we may recall the FADH2 generating step of citric acid cycle. In that step, succinate got oxidized to fumarate by succinate dehydrogenase enzyme with generation of FADH2. Since this succinate dehydrogenase is a part of complex 2, citric acid cycle is connected to mitochondrial respiratory chain both physically and functionally. So this FADH2 transfer its electrons to FAD from the succinate binding site, then to an iron sulfur center, and finally to ubiquinone. The overall reaction is cited here, and the free energy that is released from this reaction is insufficient for proton pumping. As a result, no proton translocated directly across the mitochondrial membrane, and thereby no proton motive force will be generated. The complex tree or ubiquinol cytochrome C reductase is also known as cytochrome BC1 complex or ubiquinone cytochrome C oxidoreductase. It is a dimer of two identical monomers. The functional core of one monomer consists of three subunits. The first one is cytochrome B with two hemies, that is BH and BL. The RISC iron sulfur protein is the second subunit, which its two iron 2 sulfur centers, and the third subunit is cytochrome C1. This complex tree couples the transfer of electrons from ubiquinol to cytochrome C with factorial transport of protons from the matrix to the intermembrane space. The factorial transport is a process where molecules transports in a single direction. So this is the structure of complex tree where all the functional cores and subunits got attached. The complex tree accepts electrons from ubiquinol, that is generated by transfer of electrons in complex 1 and complex 2. At the same time, it releases two protons into the intermembrane space. Within this complex, the released electrons are transferred to an iron sulfur cluster and then to a cytochrome C1 or two different B-type cytochromes. Finally, the two electrons are sequentially transferred to two molecules of oxidized cytochrome C, which is diffuses in the intermembrane space. For each pair of electrons transferred through the complex tree, the ubiquinol molecule got oxidized to ubiquinone and cytochrome C got reduced with an translocation of 4 protons across the inner mitochondrial membrane, and in this reaction the free energy generated is sufficiently negative so that two additional protons translocated from mitochondrial matrix across the intermembrane space. This transfer of protons involves the proton motif Q cycle. So this proton motif Q cycle actually describes the path of electron transfer as well as proton translocation across the complex tree. Let's look into the Q cycle associated with complex tree that helps the complex tree to translocate additional protons across the mitochondrial membrane than it usually can do. The path of electrons through this complex is shown by blue arrows. In this cycle, two molecules of ubiquinol that are derived from complex 1 and 2 got oxidized These two molecules of ubiquinol undergo two phases. When first ubiquinol binds to the binding site near the p site or the intermembrane space, its released electrons moves through two different paths. The first electron moves to risk iron sulfur center to cytochrome C1 and finally to the cytochrome C. And the second electron moves through cytochrome Bl then to BH and partially reduced this oxidized ubiquinone to semiquinone form. In the second phase, electrons moves via the same pathway, but this time it converts the semiquinone to ubiquinol with an uptake of 2 protons from the matrix site. In both the phases, 2 protons are translocated across the membrane and total 4 numbers of protons are translocated for every 2 electron transported in one turn of Q cycle. The complex 4 or cytochrome C oxidase complex is also known as cytochrome oxidase. It carries electrons from cytochrome C to molecular oxygen, reducing it to water. It is a large enzyme containing 13 subunits, among which only 3 subunits has catalytic activity. The subunit 1 contains 2 hemigroup, that is Hemi A and Hemi A3 and copper B ion. Together, both of these form a binuclear center. The subunit 2 contains 2 adjacent copper A ion that also forms a binuclear center. The role of the subunit 3 is not very clear, but it is essential for the functioning of complex 4. And here is the structure of complex 4, which includes all the subunits that take part in the process of electron transfer. In this complex, electrons flows from cytochrome C to a copper A ion, then to cytochrome A, then copper B, then to a cytochrome A3 and finally to molecular oxygen. For each pair of electron, 2 protons are pumped across the membrane and another 2 protons are transferred to the molecular oxygen to form water. The figure 11 shows the summary of electron and proton flow through the respiratory chain. In this figure, we can see that electrons reach ubiquinone or coenzyme Q through complex 1 and 2, where ubiquinol is the mobile carrier. The ubiquinone passes the electrons to complex 3, from where cytochrome C carries electron to the complex 4 and finally to molecular oxygen. Electron transferred through these 3 complexes, that is complex 1, complex 3 and complex 4, is associated with proton translocation across the membrane. Now we are coming to the final turn in the process of aerobic respiration, that is oxidative phosphorylation. So it is a metabolic pathway that uses energy released by the oxidation of nutrients to produce ATP by phosphorylation of ADP. And the flow of electrons from NADH or FADH2 to oxygen results in generation of an electrochemical gradient across the inner mitochondrial membrane, which is known as chemiosmosis, that drives the ATP synthesis. To support the mechanism of chemiosmosis during ATP synthesis, one scientist, Peter Mitchell, proposed a special mechanism. The special mechanism that was proposed by Peter Mitchell in 1961 is known as chemiosmotic hypothesis, which explains the mechanism of ATP synthesis. According to this mechanism or this model, the electrochemical energy inherent in the differences in proton concentration and separation of charge across the inner mitochondrial membrane drives the synthesis of ATP as protons flow passively back into the matrix through a proton pore associated with ATP synthase. Mitchell used the term chemiosmotic or chemiosmosis to describe the enzymatic reactions, that is, transfer of electrons through the enzyme complexes, and a transfer process, that is, osmosis or diffusion of molecules across the mitochondrial membrane simultaneously. This theory readily explains the dependence of electron transfer on ATP synthesis in mitochondria. It implies that if no electrons are transferred through the respiratory chain, then no proton motive force will be generated and hence no ATP production will be there. The flow of electrons through the complexes results in proton transfer, creating an electrochemical gradient that has two components. First one is a chemical component or pH gradient that is caused by differences of hydrogen ion concentration across the membrane, and a second component that is electrical component or voltage, which is caused due to the separation of charges across the membrane. The intermembrane space becomes a reservoir of proton or hydrogen ion, as the inner membrane is impermeable to protons, and that is why, unable to diffusing through the phospholipid bilayer of mitochondria, the protons are forced to pass through special proton channels that are associated with the enzyme ATP synthase. This ATP synthase enzyme is also known as complex 5. The free energy that is stored in the electrochemical gradient produces a proton motive force that moves the protons through ATPase complex for the synthesis of ATP. In figure, a simplified model of chemiosmosis is represented, where all four complexes of respiratory chain along with F0, F1 ATPase are arranged asymmetrically in the inner mitochondrial membrane. The flow of electrons is associated with proton transfer across the membrane, which create a electrochemical gradient. The protons from the inner membrane space or intermembrane space can re-enter the matrix only through this F0, F1 complex. These protons drives back into the matrix with the help of proton motive force, which also provides the energy for ATP synthesis that is catalyzed by this F0, F1 complex. Now let us discuss about complex 5 that is known as ATP synthase. It is also known as F1 F0 complex, which is embedded in inner membrane together with the respiratory complexes. Mitochondrial ATP synthase consists of two multi-subunit protein components. One is F0 or F0 and F1. So F0 complex making up the proton pore, which is composed of three subunits that are integral membrane proteins. The subunits are A, B and C in the proportion of A1, B2 and C 10 to 14. The F1 is a water-soluble complex of 5 distinct polypeptides with the composition of alpha 3, beta 3, gamma, delta and eta. The F1 firmly bound to the F0 complex at the surface of membrane. The subunit C form a dovetail-shaped ring in the plane of the C subunit of F0 part rigidly linked to the gamma and eta subunit of F1 part. At the top of gamma subunit, the hexameric knob of F1 alpha beta 3 portion protrudes into the matrix of mitochondria. These three beta subunits are the sites of ATP synthesis. The protons passes through the disk of C unit, cause it and the attached gamma subunit to rotate that drives the production of ATP in the F1 complex. So here is the gamma subunit and these three beta subunits are the sites of ATP synthesis. Rotation of the ATPase complex catalyzes the synthesis of ATP, which opens up the window for another significant landmark that is known as rotational catalysis. In 1979, Paul Boyer proposed the binding change mechanism for rotational catalysis. In this mechanism, ATP synthase enzyme carries out the rotational catalysis process where the three active sites of F1 take turns or rotation catalyze the synthesis of ATP. The flow of protons through the F0 pore causes each of the three nucleotide binding sites in F1 part to rotate 120 degrees per turn from ADP and phosphate bind conformation to the ATP bound conformation and finally to the empty conformation. For each complete rotation of the gamma subunit, 3 ATP molecules are synthesized and released from the enzyme surface. Figures schematically represent the changes at all 3 catalytic sites of the enzyme, that is the beta subunits, simultaneously. The movement of protons through the F0 portion of enzyme causes the rotation of gamma subunit. As the gamma subunit rotates, it induces changes in the conformation of 3 successive catalytic sites, that is denoted as T or tight site, open site and the L site or loose site. At the beginning of cycle, the catalytic site is in open conformation, where ADP and inorganic phosphate enters as the substrate. The movement of protons through the enzyme induces a shift to the L conformation, where substrates are bound loosely. In the next step, the movement of additional protons induce a shift to the T conformation, where substrate binds tightly and condenses to form ATP spontaneously. Further, the movement of more protons induce a shift to the open conformation, releasing the ATP from the catalytic surface, and making the site available for substrate binding so that the cycle can be repeated again. Therefore, in a complete turn, 3 ATP molecules are synthesized by this enzyme complex 5. Now, we are coming to the end of our discussion. It is now supposed to be clear for you that mitochondrial respiratory chain plays the central and most dynamic role in the course of carbohydrate oxidation or the aerobic respiration in most of the eukaryotes, where the end product is ATP. This ATP is available to cover the needs of every cell of the organisms. That's all. These are the name of books that I have used in the preparation of this lecture. I would also like to suggest these books for you to go through. Thank you for your patient hearing. For any queries and feedback, contact me at my email and my Twitter handle.